in Leicester, just a village outside Leicester. She's only just been done in 379. But there's that many in that age group in that area that know that it's a bit. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, let's hope and pray that you don't have any more.
We've all had it now, so.
Thanks.
Scary.
Very.
And a hush descends. Good afternoon, everybody, and a very warm welcome to this your church, the Paul Christian Spiritualist Church. So lovely that we can remain open at this time and enable people like yourselves to worship in our own right, in our own way, and with our own thoughts of the divine and our workings with spirit. So thank you for attending today. Thank you too to all you people watching us at home. Welcome to our service today. We hope that you're in good health wherever you are in the world. The lovely Pauline is on hand in the comments box to be your online moderator and answer any questions and welcome people into the room. So thank you too for joining our virtual service online today. Great pleasure to introduce our medium today. We were to have another, but as this is this energy and this time, Dibna decided to pull back because she was feeling a little bit unhealthy and wasn't sure about coming out. And I said, absolutely fine. You know, if you've got any queries whatsoever, and I always say this to everybody, if you're not happy with it, don't do it. Yeah. However, we are lucky that Jamie volunteered. And the lovely Gaynor released him this Valentine's Day.
Let loose again.
Let loose again. Thank you very much, Jamie, for taking our service. So, without further ado, please, could I ask you for the opening prayer, after which we all say the Lord's Prayer. Thank you.
Will everyone join with me to pray? Heavenly Father, Spirit Divine, Creator of our universe, He who knows all, shares all, and is all, I ask you to draw close as we create this sacred space for the union of those from this world and from the next. May their blessings and their presence be felt. I leave this service in your hands, O Lord, knowing that all that needs to be achieved will be achieved. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Jamie. Beautiful. And now, if you care to, please join in with saying the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thine will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And leave us not when in temptation, but deliver us from all evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen. Thank you. Jamie, sir, we look forward to hearing your reading, followed by your address, please. Thank you.
Like many of you, I suppose, over the last few months, I've had a lot of time to myself, and a lot of it's been quite useful in that I've been able to, as it were, commune with Spirit and share some of their understanding, which is always a pleasure to me. And in those times of quiet, it's surprising just how much you can glean. This particular reading is from, if you like, it's a combination of my thoughts and Spirit's inspiration. So it's, the theme, should I say, is about the simplicity of the message that Spirit gives us. The guidance we receive from our Spirit guides is always simple and direct. Many have made it complicated and mysterious by creating dogma and creed. This is not the intention of Spirit, but is the product of ego. As a result, when we chase after what we think we want and not what we need, we waste time in trying to satisfy our ego, and therefore we are often disappointed. This is because the things we think we want do not serve our soul, do not serve our soul's purpose. The truth behind all spiritual revelation is always the same. The messages that we receive from our guides and our loved ones are an expression of love in all its varied forms: compassion, humility, generosity, all given in a non-judgmental way. This expression of unconditional love is the key to understanding the purpose of our lives here on earth. It is by example that Spirit teaches the true meaning of life. The principles that underpin these messages form the basis for a spiritual way of life. These are that we are spirit in a physical form, that the continuation of life after the transition of death is forever, the continuous progression of the soul, that the universe is governed by cosmic laws which keep the world and ourselves in balance. The interconnectedness of all things, living and non-living, is essential for the success of our lives. The unconditional love is one of the most important principles, as I'm sure you would agree. In addition, when we reflect on our lives here on earth, we come to realize that the material world is a distraction from our true purpose, which is to live in harmony with ourselves and with the world around us. In order to achieve this harmony, we must first be in balance, mentally, physically, and spiritually, and follow the path which our soul has set out for us in this life. When we are not on our true spiritual path, then we experience disharmony. This is experienced as disease or dis-ease, and can be seen in individuals and in the society at large. Much of the world's problems are because we are living in a state of disharmony with nature, with ourselves, and with the planet. Spirit's mission is to try to counteract this negative state by bringing enlightenment and influencing people for the good of all. Therefore, when we recognize the negative influences in our lives, we can take steps to address them, to take a more positive approach. We can only work within our sphere of influence by affecting those whom we come in contact with on a daily basis. By acting with compassion, humility, generosity, and being non-judgmental, we express unconditional love, which helps to reset the balance and to counter the negativity of the world. If we view all life as sacred and worthy of our concern and care, we will start to restore the balance of the planet and improve the quality of our lives. The universal laws tell us that all our actions, good or bad, have consequences, and that we have to bear the responsibility for them. Finally, I think there's so much there that I could talk, really, if to do it justice, a lot longer than the time that we have allocated. And I always try to keep it brief, because obviously these things can wander off. I wanted just to briefly look at the revelations that we frequently get from Spirit. If you look at all the messages that come through, time and time again, the same themes appear. The same reason for people coming through to speak to their loved ones is nearly always the same. And they come down. And I think the important things that we can get from that is, as I said previously, the realization that we are really all spirits on a physical journey. This physical journey that we have is very much an illusion, and is probably the best way to view it. That the reality of our lives is that we are spirit. We were spirit before we came, and we are spirit when we leave. This is the transient part. This is the difficult part. This is the part that we find the most difficult. And I certainly know that spirit, as they draw close, they re-experience the difficulties of their own lives. And people often think, well, why hasn't my loved one come through? Sometimes it's too painful for them to come close. There are many reasons why they don't come close. But to realize that we are actually spirit, I think, is the first revelation in our understanding of our purpose. The second is that there is no death. There is only transition. There is only a change. Science tells us that energy is never lost. It simply goes from one state to another. The whole of the universe is energy circulating around, changing, being changed, but never lost. And certainly, we should not fear death. When you look at near-death experiences, when people report when they have died and been brought back to life, or were very ill and have been close to death, they all tell us the same story. It's a pleasure and a pleasant experience. It's not something to be feared. All their worries, all their pain is immediately gone, and they move to a higher life. And those that come back can confirm that. The other important thing, I think, is that we are souls on a journey, that we progress, that despite what we often think, that we are stuck, that we're not developing, that we're not moving on, that life is too difficult and the lessons are too difficult, we do move on, we do progress, and it's a principle. All things change, nothing remains the same. If we're standing still, we're going backwards. We can only go forwards, we can only change. All matter changes, all energy changes. It never stays the same. And so the soul is governed by the same laws. It moves on, it evolves through this life, through the next life. Again, there's a misconception, I think. Many people believe that once we pass to spirit, that's it. We sit on a cloud and we have great time and nothing changes. That's not true. This is the first stage of a journey. Spirit often talk about our existence here as being in the kindergarten of school. When we pass on, we move to the next level of our education, if you like. And those within spirit evolve. I know from personal experience that people that I knew in life who were difficult, who had problems, have passed to spirit and have seen within spirit how they have changed through the messages that they bring through to me through other mediums. They have changed. They have progressed. We all progress. And there's more progression after we die than before we die. Cosmic laws. The other is that, again, everything has to be kept in balance. The key word for existence is balance. Everything has to balance. There is no imbalance in the universe. We think of karma as an example. I like to think of karma as indebtedness, in the sense that we create debts that we have to pay back at some other time. And again, this is borne out by many messages that I've seen and have given people who have come back to try and redress the balance of the things. They talk about how difficult they were in life and how they made other people's lives difficult, and they come back to try and pay back that debt, if you like. So for me, karma is about the imbalance that we create and then has to be rebalanced at some point during either this life or the next. Some things we can rebalance in this life, but others have to be rebalanced later. That's one example of one of the most important laws, I think, that we have, and reflects personal responsibility. Finally, I'm aware of the time, finally I'd like to say that, just to sort of reiterate some points here, that spiritualism, I think, is not a religion in the sense that it has a creed, it has dogma. Spiritualism is, in a sense, a group of ideas. It's a movement. It's a way of life for many. And it's an understanding about the true nature of the universe and our part in it. In the West, we have lost our connection to the spirit, to the spiritual nature of the universe. And it's only in the last 100 years that we have rediscovered that. And obviously you can look back and see where there are points where these things have changed. But there is a growing awareness that we need balance, that our activities create imbalance in every sense of the word, spiritually, morally, and obviously physically. I'd like to leave that there. Thank you very much for listening.
Jamie, absolutely wonderful. Thank you so
Pleasure.
much. Thoroughly enjoyed that. So now we move on to that time that we dedicate to healing. We often betray ourselves, deny our own strengths, deny our own place. But we are all mediums, for we are all spirit. And through that truism, we can work within the realms of healing, be it by sending our thoughts, our prayers, our love, be it by practical works, a smile, a hello, a phone call. Healing comes under many guises and banners. And at this time, we'd ask that you just allow your mind to drift. Go along with the music soon to be played. Think of those images, of those dear ones that you know, who need healing at this time. Think too of the planet in which we live, and of ourselves, the healing for us. Think on anything where healing is needed, and trust that that healing energy will flow through you as its medium. Infinite and divine Spirit, everlasting thought, unplummetable depth, we thank you for allowing us to be healers for this time and to be encouraged in our works, to aid and abet those who we meet, to complete that goal, to be of service to all in our paths. Amen. Jamie.
Who do we have? I have a lady drawing close. She impresses me with her attitude towards life was very much what you see is what you get, and she took life as it presented itself to her. She was very down to earth, very pragmatic, very much of this is it, this is my lot, I will get on with it. And she has a strength of character that carried through her life, through all the difficulties that she actually had. She would have passed, and I'm seeing her within a 60s, probably 70s at the oldest, should I say. She is quite robust in her build, in that she has good she said good strong shoulders, and she was used to physical work, in the sense that she was quite, for a lady, she was quite physical in the way that she approached things, and this was very much her personality. Give me who are you with? Who do you want to speak to? She tells me that she wants to speak to her daughter. So she would have passed with cancer, and we're in the chest area or upper stomach area, and it was not a long passing. It was for her, it was, the news was a shock, and she carried on as much as she could for as long as she could, but it wasn't a protracted illness as in 4 or 5 years with various treatments. She kept it to herself to start with, and she didn't disclose it to her loved ones. I'm getting the name Helen. She links with Helen. So this is someone's mum. She's quite a tall lady, quite well built. She spent a lot of time looking after family, and her domestic world was important to her. She's showing me a little black dog. Well, I say it's medium-sized black dog was coming here at the moment. That she was quite fond of animals, and she had, certainly there's this black dog I can see that would be with her, and budgerigars. She had quite a menagerie at one time. Certainly I've got birds in a cage. Give to me another way. No one's taking this. She was widowed later in life. She lived on her own towards the end of her life. Her husband passed before her. Nope. she's moved aside now because I'm wondering whether she's enabling somebody else.
Okay. Yep.
Behind her, I now can see a gentleman. He's shorter than she is, of a bigger build, and had put weight on towards the end of his life. Curiously, the relationship between them is like brother and sister. If you come forward, show me who you are. Lady in the orange, is this... I'm being drawn to you. Yeah, you're the only... I think it's orange, I can't see that well from here. Does this mean anything to you? Because I'm being drawn towards you at the moment.
The lady sounds similar, but the name, not.
Don't worry about the name, because I get names and it could be anybody, because there's a lot of people up here besides me.
I can take
You can, okay then. She's now showing me a cat. Does that mean anything to you? Yeah, because dog, cat, but well,
the little black dog, yeah.
yeah, the little black dog, and there's this caged bird. I think came to my mind was a budgerigar, or it might have been a parakeet or something that was caged. Does that mean anything?
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. I'm worried then. Okay. For some reason, she's showing me roses. She liked roses, she liked flowers, as most people do, but particularly red roses and climbing roses. Just you have to take your mask down so I can hear. It's just that I need your voice for a clear link. They need your voice for a clear link. So yeah, the roses, and it's the cliche to have the roses round the door, but she liked climbing roses. Yeah. So I'm going to move on so you can take most of what I've said. Yeah, good. I'm asking her for why she has come to talk to you. She draws close at the moment because you're in the process of sorting out. I can literally see you with papers around you, and you don't know quite which ones to pick up first. She's saying, step back. Because in looking at all these things, picking this one up, looking this, then putting it down, then picking this up, then putting it down, you can't settle to work out where you should start. It reminds me of an old adage, how do you eat an elephant? And the answer is a bit at a time. She's saying, focus on one thing. Then you will find that you will make headway with that. Does that make sense to you? Good. Because she's got this feeling that you're spreading yourself out so that you're not being effective, is what she's saying. Which was totally alien to her, because she would be straight in. She would cut through everything and say, this is where you need to do. And this is basically what she's, with much love, saying, that's what you need to do. Focus on one thing. It's like having a series of books and trying to read 6 books at once. You soon get confused. So she wants you to concentrate on one. When you've done that, then do the next. Prioritize, she says. Were you out sledging recently? Because for some reason she's showing me a sledge. This could be a childhood memory. And I don't know why she's showing it me. Why are you showing me a sledge of all things? She wants you to remember the fun times that you had when you were a child. And she wants you to put certain things aside. Now, she's not telling me what, she's not impressing me with what, but she wants you to put some things aside, and that's bad experiences, recent bad experiences. She wants you to put those aside and to move forward. This is part of the sorting out. And remembering past times is a way to get out of that cycle of rethinking things and going over things and going round in circles almost, is what she's telling me. She wants you to break that circle, or cycle, should I say, and in thinking back in the pleasant things in the past and envisaging a brighter future is what she wants you to do, rather than dwelling on the negative things. Are you writing?
Yeah.
Yeah, because she's showing me the writing. And you find yourself writing things, you think, why have I written about that? Why has that come up? She's there when you write, and she's trying to influence you to write positive things. Because again, it tends to take a negative form, she's saying. She wants you to be uplifted. She wants to uplift you. And she's got, I know it's Valentine's Day, so it's a bit of a cliche, but she's got a bunch of red roses for you and wants to leave you with that thought that she is always with you, and she knows what you're going through, and she tries to help as much as she can. But as with all of us, we have to help ourselves. Have to meet spirit halfway, she reminds me. Okay. Thank you for working with me. I'll leave her love with you. I have a tall gentleman here who steps in, and they're all coming through strong today. He's another one that wouldn't take any prisoners, he's telling me. Again, very matter of fact in the way that he approached life, and also he's impressing me that this just wouldn't have been his what's the word? Kettle, tea, whatever. I've forgotten the saying. This wouldn't have been his cup of tea, that's it. I know it's got something to do with tea. He was very sceptical, to say the least, and almost atheistic, in the sense that he did not believe in anything. When you were dead, you were dead. So he says, imagine the surprise I got when I passed over. Quite tall, but the way he's presenting himself is quite tall. So that tells me two things. One, he was physically of a good height, but also he was a larger-than-life character. There's a sense of he was in a position of authority, and I'm sensing the military. I'm getting a military feel about this at the moment, because again, that was very much, the job was to be done. You do the job and you move on, and that's very much his attitude towards life. And he took, as he says, no prisoners. Can anyone place this gentleman? Because he's not giving me a lot more at the moment. Can he give me more?
I can take that energy.
You think? Yeah, I was.
Well,
but
why
I
didn't
didn't
you?
I know, well.
Trust.
Right. Yep. Okay. Let me see if he give me some more to clinch it, as it were. He's showing me a medal, but he's actually saying I'm not really into medals. So
Yeah,
a bit of jewellery as far as he was concerned.
yeah,
Does that fit?
very much.
Yeah, that was him. Yes, and I've got a medal here. Not he couldn't be doing with all that. He wasn't a man for ceremony.
Correct.
Yeah, he didn't like all this, and I suppose that, in a sense, was why he was not always keen on churches. Because
that changed.
yeah, well, this is it. Yeah. But of course, he was very much a man of his time,
Yes.
in that he had his role and his children had their role,
Yeah.
and you were brought up to respect authority, discipline. There was discipline within the family,
Yeah.
and you had education was to fit you for work,
Correct.
and none of this university stuff, which doesn't necessarily fit you for work, he said. And he was very much of the line of an apprenticeship was important.
Yes.
You learnt it from the roots up, not top down. And how do I say? He's saying, this is more complicated. He's saying that he's making me aware that he made a distinction between those that governed, in other words, like officers
Yeah.
and managers, and those that did the work.
Yeah.
In his mind, well, his philosophy, if you like, of life, taught him that they were of much less value. He was not impressed with titles
Mm-hmm.
or with university education. He had to think about university education. I'll come back to that. But yet the work was done by the people, by the masses, for want of a word. And he very much took, it's a difficult to say, it was what I call the labour, or he's talking about politics. He's talking about that, the important thing is that people got on with the job and were allowed to do the job and were properly recompensated for the
Yeah.
work they did. I don't know where he's going with this.
Well, that'd be interesting.
He said, chip off the old block. And he has said that he has noted that over the years how you have changed
Yeah.
and become more like him than you would have liked at times. He's saying the message he wants to give you is he knows that it's been difficult and there have been moments, but he's always had your back, as he
Yeah.
puts it. He's always been there behind you to catch you when you fell.
Thank you.
And that's important for him because he said family is for life. And again, this I don't know what your origins are, but it reminds me of the East End way of looking at things.
Yeah.
That family is important.
Yeah.
Family is everything. And we may argue, we may disagree, but at the end of the day, family is important.
Yeah.
And he said that carries on now as much as it did when he was alive. And that he is always there for you and will always back you up
Yeah.
when you need it. He said there are also times when you need to, I won't say it, what he's just said, and that's to hold back on what
Yeah.
you say. He says
Yeah.
there are times when I didn't do that, and I should have done, because it got me into more trouble than I could mention, he said. So he impresses me with this business about support, and that what was said and done in the past is the past. What matters is how we now.
Very true.
Very philosophical in his own way. Yeah. He said, I didn't need a university education to do that. Bless you, friend.
Thank you.
Thanks for working with me.
That's all right.
Thank you. I'll
Yeah, carry on.
leave his support with you.
Thank you.
He just added a bit. Sorry, he's not gone. He just said he picks and chooses who he comes through.
Oh, yeah, I can get that.
I don't know what that means, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I'll tell you after.
yeah, okay. I have a lady. Now she's a complete contrast to the last two people that have come through, in that to describe her would not do her justice. I don't know why but she's impressed me with that. In that she was she says, I was very ordinary. She presents herself as a very ordinary person, and she passed. She had a quiet life. She kept herself to herself. She was not one person to push herself forward. And in life, coming through like this would have been one of the last things that she would have been happy to do. She was always there to support her loved ones, she said. To look at her physically, she's impressed me, said, very ordinary, in that she is not very tall. She's, towards the end of her life, she put weight on, as many people do, and she just quietly passed away in her sleep. It was not a dramatic disease that she had. She just grew old, slow, and just one day, as it were, she didn't wake up. And she said her passing was very gentle. She was asleep, and then she was in spirit. She had a fairly, I suppose, a traditional upbringing as far as her beliefs were concerned. She went to church as a child, was raised in Church of England environment, so that was her view, and she accepted that, and she would be a person that read quite a lot and kept herself to herself. Am I with anyone? She is very self-effacing, literally, in that she does not want to push herself forward, and she didn't in life, and she comes through very gently. She's a very gentle soul and very quiet. She wants to link with a gentleman, so I'm somewhere with a gentleman. What relationship would you be? Who are you with? As I send that thought, she's giving me son or son-in-law, so I'm not sure which it is. I can narrow down to that. Any of the gentlemen? There's only two gentlemen, isn't there? Place this lady? No? Let's see if she'll give me more. she showed me that the street in which she lived was like terraced houses. There was a long line of houses that were joined, so they're like terraced rather than detached, semi-detached or whatever. And she spent most of her life in that street. Certainly all of her married life was in that street. And she was well known to the neighbours. And as I say, she kept herself to herself and a lot. No one take this lady? Because I can't get any more from her at the moment.
So what's going to step aside?
Yeah.
Somebody else
Is there anybody else here? Yeah.
I feel you're towards the back. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm pulled in this direction. I know. Step aside. Who else is there? Again, I'm getting a gentleman that comes with her, and they were both quiet. There is really very, almost in physical build as well, they're very similar. They are both not tall by any means. And I'm drawn here somewhere. Can no one take this lady over here? I may have it wrong. This may be a neighbour we're talking about. Because she was known, she kept herself to herself. When somebody was living in that area, would have been aware of her. Unless you give me more, I can't move forward. I'm getting the name Janice for some reason. Now names to me sort of don't always get placed, but I give them anyway. Jane, Janice could be one of that. And I'm also getting Mrs. Groves. Mean anything to anyone here? Or anywhere? No. Oh gosh, I have to step aside, sorry. I'll have to let her move unless you can give me more. It's not. Step aside, please. Don't like to leave them going, but there you go. I have a gentleman, and he's showing me a step ladder, and by that, and also by the way, I feel he was a window cleaner by trade. I'm talking a window cleaner here. Now this gentleman is, I say, was a window cleaner, so, and his personality was very much of, he enjoyed life. He would whistle while he worked. He would tell jokes. He was friends with everybody. He was a very friendly person. Build, he was average height, dark hair, fairly average build. Nothing of note there.
Try and get the link now before we give too much info.
Yeah. Does anyone know a window cleaner? No.
There we go.
You might know a window cleaner. Okay. What can't you take is what I'm tempted to ask you. Yeah.
It sounds a bit like my father-in-law, but he was a roofer.
Oh, well, there was a ladder, was the first thing I
Yeah.
saw.
He was a roofer.
Didn't do window cleaning in his part-time, did he?
He might have done a bit here and there, he was doing everything, but mainly he was a roofer.
All right, we'll go with it. Okay, let's see, give me some more so that we can clarify if I'm still with the one. I mean, certainly the link feels right because he's now, my link to him is stronger.
Jack of all trades, dark hair.
Very much a friend to everybody.
Used to whistle a lot.
Yeah, that's the one I got.
Jimmy.
Yeah, don't give me any names, just in case he comes through.
Get him the name Jimmy.
He was a friend to everybody,
Yes,
and he enjoyed life.
he did.
And as far as he was concerned, it was all over too quickly.
Yes.
Um, and he really grasped the opportunities as they arose. As you say, he was a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
He was happy. He would work for people, and he's making me aware that he wasn't too much worried about how much money he earned.
No.
What was important to him was being out and about, meeting people, doing what he could do for people, and he would often do jobs for nothing
Yes.
if he felt somebody was short of cash, as he puts it. I mean, he's a delight to be close to, and that's how people viewed him.
Yeah.
That he had this air of what's
He
the
was a comedian.
yeah, whether he is the joker, but it goes much deeper than that. His philosophy was really, he took everybody as he found them,
Yeah.
and he didn't bear grudges. Life was too short for that, he said, and he really enjoyed life, as he puts it. He's giving me some information now about is there some job in your house that needs doing?
Wow.
Because he's gone into repair mode here, because he's saying that
I live in a tower block and it's being refurbished at the moment.
yeah, because he's making me aware of scaffolding and all this sort of
Yeah.
business, and there's
Tell you that.
there's work needs to be done. He says, and he's been keeping an eye on it.
Oh, good.
And he says they cut corners, he says.
I know they do. Yeah.
He really doesn't rate their work much at all, he says.
No.
He says, but there you are, what can you do? He's around you quite often,
Yeah. You were very close.
yeah, because he senses when you put your thoughts out to him.
Yeah.
You are aware of his presence, in other words.
Yeah.
Lights going on and off.
Yes.
Yeah, he's doing all the things that we expect spirit to do when they want attention.
Yeah. He was more like my brother.
Yeah, he's reminding you that again, it's about trying to stay positive, which has been difficult. It's been difficult for all of us at these times. And he's saying, what you miss particularly is getting out
Yeah.
and walking
Yeah.
in the fresh air. He says he's aware of that, and he comes round and brings healing, and you sense that because of the warmth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he said that that's for he's paying you back for the things you did for him. He says because you were always kind to him and you did things for him that other people wouldn't do.
Yeah.
Because other people judged him at times.
That's right.
And he's saying that he's very thankful to you for the help that you gave him and the support. And he's paying back the privilege, as it were. Again, he's saying, know that all you have to do is call on him, and he will draw close and give you healing. Yeah. Anything else you want to add? Show me you flicking through magazines for some reason.
I threw all out yesterday.
You've got flicking through magazines here.
I had a bundle of them. I threw them down the chute.
And you're going through them and think, oh, I didn't read that last time. Oh, I'll read that now. One goes on one side, and he says, the danger is, he says, you end up with a pile as big
Yeah.
as when you started.
I threw them out yesterday.
Okay. So he wants to, again, he basically wants to thank you, and he wants you to know that he's there. Thank you for working with me.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Jamie.
Pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Now quickly move on for a few notices this week. On Monday night, 7 o'clock, Saturday morning at 9 a.m, we have meditation live online on the church Facebook page. Wednesday night at 7 p.m, we have our Spiritualism Lyceum night. This week we have Ewan Irvin from Edinburgh taking that evening. Once Ewan confirms what the topic and how he wants the evening to work, I will then release the details, whether it to be on the church Facebook page or a Zoom presentation, but just watch out for the adverts coming up for that. Next Saturday at 7 p.m. on the church Facebook page, we have Diana Coldman paying a return visit, and she'll be talking about the Om. Those of you who know what that is, wonderful. Could you tell those of us that don't know what it is, what it is? Very great, thank you. But Diana did a programme for us just before Christmas. Lovely lady, really, really nice. And it was direct response from the people watching that evening that she's returning to us. Next Sunday morning, 10:45 on Zoom, we have the first of our divine services. And next week we have Ben Aylward taking that service. Next Sunday, 3 p.m, live here within the church and streamed live onto the Facebook page. You've got Lawrence Saville, so those of you who know him, you're more than welcome not to turn up, he won't mind. And his rule is, if there's less than 5, I don't have to work. So, that concludes the notices. Jamie, sir, if I could ask you for your closing prayer. Thank
Pleasure.
you.
Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen, for coming today. Would you like to join me in our closing prayer and blessing? Heavenly Father, Spirit Divine, guides, friends, family, we thank you all for coming this afternoon, for joining with us to create this celebration of life that we call spiritualism. I thank all those that came to give messages, that took the trouble to join us here. I ask that a blessing be sent with all those present and all those listening and all those in the online world, healing, and to keep them all safe in the following days and weeks. Amen.
Amen. Jamie, once again, thank you so much for stepping in at the last minute. Absolutely wonderful. So nice to be able to give you the opportunity to work, because you were just getting out there on the platform when it all happened. So, yes, thank you. Thank you all for coming today. It's so nice to see people in the church. I know I say this because I mean it, that's why I say it, simple as that. Thank you too to all you wonderful people that have joined us at home, and to Pauline for giving up your time to welcome people in, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.
But thank you anyway.